It's great to see you here. Um,
Pretty good
for those
evening,
who are attending
Ritesh.
the session
Yeah.
today, hi, hi. For those who are attending the session today, just to introduce Vinay, Vinay is one of the most energetic CEOs I have come across of late, and his energy naturally travels to the businesses that he manages and the endeavors he manages. And naturally, to say so, those businesses would be doing good. And we have heard of
Thanks for
great
your kind words.
stories. Yeah, we have heard of some great stories of Sakshi Media, going through the transformation process and becoming profitable despite COVID. So, when print
True.
media was really suffering in 2019 and then particularly in 2020. So, you have managed that transformation, and I think from that perspective, hats off to you. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
there is a
Thanks so
lot to
much.
learn from how you manage this. Yeah, and for the people who are watching this, I'm sure there will be a lot to learn from this story. So first up,
I don't know. I think I'm
um,
still learning. So,
I think yeah, every thinker says so. So yes,
yeah.
that's another thing about Vinay. He's a great thinker, and he thinks at least 10 steps ahead. When you has great energy, so I mean it's a great opportunity to work with Vinay. So yeah, so I think this is a brief session, and I think there are a lot of opportunities for the audience to learn from this particular chat. And first up, I want to ask you on the last 1 or 2 years, especially this time of COVID, and during the pandemic, how did you keep the balance of business, and how do you keep the balance of what the customer is looking at? And despite all the odds, how did you manage to transform and create profitability in a business like yours, a very tough business to do in the media?
So you see, let me tell you. In fact, I may I may sound academic, but actually not academic. It is coming straight from the ground. See, a lot of times there are a lot of things, a lot of philosophies that we talk about, but we really don't know how to execute them in practicality.
Mm.
I just did the same thing. I just ensured that all that we've been reading, thinking, talking about, I just make them executable, practical. For example, you see, pandemic, no pandemic, okay, making a business efficient,
Yeah.
okay, making a business progressive, okay, making a business, you know, uh, making a business kind of a, giving a business risk protection. All of these things are known to everyone. It all depends on your degree of engagement. It all depends on your degree of engagement. Like a lot of times, when you sit in the conference room and you deliberate on things that are not visible to people, they find that extremely academic. But those things at a
Right.
given time, when they start delivering you results, okay, and when the visibility happens, it gives you a kind of differentiator which still, which remains with you before it kind of gets copied, etc. And that gives you that advantage. So
Right.
coming back to, let's say, the Sakshi's turnaround, right? You see, we did not do anything great, anything different during the pandemic, because honestly, we started this journey of, the so-called turnaround that we've managed to achieve here together in the year 2019. And that's when we looked at, our pockets of corrections, our pockets of new introduction, okay, our efficiency grace, all of those things we plotted, and we started working on them one by one. Okay, for example, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
uh, in the news media, okay, whatever we talk about, you know at the end of the day, how strong, credible is your platform, okay, that matters a lot. So how you are actually how you are
Absolutely.
adapting how you are adapting how you are adapting your product to suit the readers, viewers needs. And it's, you see, Sakshi Media, that Sakshi Media Group has equal amount of foray in digital and TV besides print. Okay, so
Right. Right.
uh, So the challenge here is not just one platform. We had a challenge across 3 platforms, and on the 3 platforms, the audience, the way the audience consumes news across 3 platforms is quite different. Okay, there's a demographic, there's a demographic split, there's a psychographic split, plus there's a behavioral, the consumption on the consumption also, especially like for example the consumption timings, credibilities with various platforms. There are the different nitty-gritties, different platforms. Having said that, uh, news medium typically works around 3 pillars: collate of news, creating something out of that collate, and then curating that create that news that you've kind of gone ahead with research. So
Right,
when it
right.
comes to your platform one thing, news typically works around this, and all the 3 should address the curiosity. So basically, it's like this plate, create, and curate should put together address the curiosity that a reader or a viewer or your audience has. So you have to all the time all the
Right.
time stay up on your feet to ensure that you are addressing to that curiosity. Um, this is a very tough business. The margin of error is very little. Okay. You make one mistake, and
Right.
that mistake actually dents your credibility, trustworthiness straight away. So what we have done in the last 2-3 years is that
Yeah.
we focus a lot on our product efficiencies. Okay, we've looked at new formats of product. We looked at what is important for the reader. How
Hmm.
do we concise that information? We also know that, for example, we talk about print. The long essay writing is going out. Okay, in this world where you have so much of
Correct.
digital media, and on the digital media you see the news in like 50 words, 60 words, 80 words. Okay, very difficult for people to actually consume like
Right.
800 words or 900 words or 700 words for one news. Okay, so we also adapted to the game,
Absolutely.
and we started kind of bringing in more news to the paper. We started, a lot of time the essay writing has also changed, to be honest. You see, there was a time when when you write typically a 800 words essay, you start with something, and then you have to remind your audience, you have to keep repeating the same thing through the, just to build the reference. You have to keep
To the
repeating
text. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
to the that text. So we've,
Hmm.
moment you start shortening it up, you know that you have a flexibility of repeating anything. Okay, you don't have that space or luxury to
Correct.
repeat anything. So we started tightening that up.
Yeah.
That allowed us to bring more news. That allowed us to obviously that in fact that has put a lot of pressure on our editorial teams to come up with lot more research. Okay,
Create and curate.
so that
Yeah.
exactly. So I think the journey started from the product. I think last 2-3 years, the amount of work that we've done product is incredible. Okay, now not just the
Wow.
product. If you see, we've changed the format of the paper as well. Like, we were earlier giving a paper and a tabloid. Now we've made it completely a broadsheet. Plus, we've ensured, like the delight to eyes, all of those elements really worked upon. Now, all of this did not start, to be honest, it did not start
Hmm.
post pandemic. It started way before. To be honest,
Yeah.
a lot of people consider this during the pandemic. But if I look at it from my eyes, why do you have to wait for such corrections? Why do you have to wait for pandemics for such corrections? Okay, these corrections are needed to the
Yeah.
audience, all the time. So we corrected on a product, we corrected that, plus we corrected a bit on our cover price, but all of that was before pandemic. Okay, so for us, the blessing in
Yeah.
disguise, or like fundamental correction, we did the fundamental correction just before the COVID came in. Okay, so believe you me,
Turned out well.
we did not
Okay.
yeah we did not put any kind of panic on the company. We were extremely cordial with our, like, to be honest, our entire family, like all the employees came together as family. Okay, and we really kind of traveled this journey really well. We did not put any kind of pressure on our employees. I'll glad to say this, that we did not kind of deduct any kind of salaries, we did not do any kind of churn. Okay, so all that we
Wow. Wow.
decided not to. Yeah, a lot of people took those shortcuts, etc. We decided not to. We stayed focused on the fundamentals of correcting product, the fundamentals of bringing audience, the fundamentals of sticking on to your revenue strategies. Okay, and believe you me, like everything
Wow.
delivered, audience grown, revenue. I mean, people know the kind of numbers the industry is doing. I'm taking a great pride in saying that we are far, far superior than industry. Okay, and as we speak, last 4 months we are doing even better than the 2018. Okay, so for
Wow.
that life is, we are doing it better than the 2019. You look at our circulation for that matter. A lot of people actually have struggled. A lot of organizations have struggled in pulling back numbers. I'm very happy. I can very happily share that our circulation currently ranging between 91 to 96% of recovery. Okay, so which means practically all the audience are
Wow.
back. At
Yeah.
least the home audience is back. I know there are challenges around the
Right.
cash sales point, because cash sales point and all, obviously have gone down for different reasons. Well, but if you see at home, our circulation is back at, our
Right.
circulation is back. Likewise, if you look at like our TV audiences,
And
where
regular
they did a
content.
lot of, there we did a lot of experiments with our content. We did, during this period, we did introduce a lot of feature shows. We did introduce like a lot of audience engagement there as well.
Mm.
You see our digital is one of the phenomenal stories. Like digital, I think it's almost like threefold in the last 3 years. So yeah, digital is going to be threefold in the last three
Wow.
years as we close this year. Okay, so that itself is a great story, and our
Yeah.
the PVs
Yeah.
have gone up by about 3 times. Our unique visitors have gone up by about 3 times, and all of this is we just started putting focus. Okay, we just started looking at, so monetization in this industry is I've always believed. I've been in India for last, now this is like the 17th going on. Okay, in 16 17 years, one thing that I learned, that
Mm.
it is audience that will keep you in business. And to be able to have that audience, okay,
Naturally, yeah.
you have to have
Anywhere, yeah.
you
Customer will. Right.
to the product. So for me, the simple focus is build audience, keep the products intact. Okay,
Right.
rest all will follow, automatically follow. Like all
Yeah.
that, rest all is process. Rest all is process. Just keep the process intact and then deliver. It delivered.
Absolutely.
It has, touch wood, it has been delivering as well. Like, I mean, I'll be honest with you, as we speak, end of November. Okay, end of November, we are close to the profits that we had, that
In
we
the whole year
posted for
last year.
last year.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's what.
that's it.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I think very, very importantly, you said a few things like, I mean, firing people. Media industry has gone through a rough patch. Even the biggies had to do a lot of cut down in their operations,
Lots of them.
etc. We know that. And here we are talking about a growth story, and that's the beautiful thing about it. I think tell us a little bit about the people side of this change. Because when you were working on the product, when you were working on the format, and there was digital, and we have seen across many media companies, digital or the print is at the expense of digital, or digital is at the expense of print, right? So how did you manage to grow both formats? What did you do with people? What happened with people so that that they delivered and in the same format became so successful?
Yeah, so comes to the two platforms. Like we have a very limited common minimum understanding between the two platforms. Common minimum synergy is needed. Only common minimum synergy. That means
Hmm.
the flow of news, etc.
Hmm.
Because the two platforms have a
Hmm.
very different type size of writing. Two
Lifespan,
platforms have
correct,
very
correct.
different audience and consumption patterns. So we're keeping the two very separate. Okay, we have a common minimum flow of information. Okay, and usage of news, right? So therefore, both have a lot of, I would say, both have a lot of diversity, and both have their own style. Style under one umbrella, under one philosophy. Okay, so the philosophy remains the same, but both have very different execution. On people side, see, interestingly, when the pandemic hit, okay, as I said, we had already
Yeah.
started working on a lot of things, and so but we had about 6 and 8. I mean, just before the pandemic, actually, we had about, like, we invested about 6 to 8 months with you know with one of the world famed consultant, okay, to to work on our complete the structure, the alignment, the realignment, the the job, the complete people to people to cross kind of platform. So we did put in place the JDs needed, the JDs, we did correct the JDs, we did correct the responsibilities, we did correct the KPIs, KRAs. Okay, so the interesting thing what happened in this assignment that we initiated sometime in mid of 19. Okay, this assignment continued till about Feb 20, and after that COVID hit. But what happened? How this assignment benefited us is that it gave a lot of clarity to our people on what is expected out of them. Okay, now
Hmm.
that especially when industries go mature. Okay, a lot of times a lot of roles becomes mundane. Okay, but they but continue in the organization. Okay, a lot of roles have not enough work on table, like not enough work on plate. So these roles also just kind of stay there. So what we did, we did the role mapping, we did the complete people map to
Organization.
understand where do we have these gaps. Okay, and sometime mid 90 we started filling those gaps. Okay, that gave
Hmm.
us a lot of that gave us a lot of strength, because we could make use of our existing strength. We could make use of our existing brain. Okay, plus it also gave people a lot more confidence, because a lot more newness, because uh, you know they were suddenly like they came up to this responsibility. And
Hmm.
Sakshi as an organization is fairly cohesive. We are, I think, I've worked with various other media organizations, and I know the other media organizations very closely. uh, the great benefit at Sakshi is Sakshi doesn't work in silos. Okay,
Hmm.
most of the mature media organizations would work in silos. So editorial has its own
Right.
pillar, ad sales has its own pillar,
Hmm.
celebration is driving its
Yeah.
own. Okay, fortunately that's not the case with Sakshi. Okay, and
Hmm.
some of the initiatives, like setting up management committee and setting up a management committee which has representatives from all departments, and setting up monthly reviews. Okay, setting up cross functional monthly reviews. Okay, and cross functional engagements. I think all of that kind of helped. Okay, that really has helped.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Hmm.
and Sakshi, another fortunate thing is Sakshi, like a lot of other media companies, is not a top heavy company. So what happens when you're not top heavy? The advantage that you get of not being top heavy is in terms of directions. Okay,
Right.
so there is a
Hmm.
very little confusion in directions. Okay,
Hmm.
and line of hierarchy is also, it's also quite
It's,
transparent and clear.
yeah.
So I think all
Simply.
of these things have helped, especially the role alignments, the JD elements, the KPIs alignment, and then we tried, and so we tried to convert most of our KPIs into numeric. So that helped.
Hmm. 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 So, I think one thing which comes out very, very well in what you are describing is that the clarity. The whole thing is led by clarity. The more clarity you provide to people,
Yes.
the better alignment you can in turn expect, and better performance naturally on things that they're doing, even without monitoring them a lot. So, I think.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that's a great insight. Now, one of the questions
Hmm.
from the audience is on the retention of talent. Now, we have all heard of
Hmm.
great, uh, resignation and all the
Yeah.
consequences because of that. How? So the question is, how have you managed retention of talent in despite
See,
these times, in particularly in this year?
okay. Typically, we all know the reasons for which people leave. Okay, and I can say it with great, I can say it with my learning. It's like I've been in industry for last 26, 27 years. People just don't. I mean, when it comes to the bottom rung, yes, people do leave. I mean, money is one big consideration for them. But believe me, when you go up the hierarchies, money is just not the only consideration. There are very
Cannot.
many other considerations. In fact, as you go up, and as you start kind of dealing in the brain, like, especially when it comes to your think tank. I don't think the think tank, I mean, and for them, money is not the stimulation. Money is not the stimulator that kind of drives them out. Okay, so how you keep them as a body, how you keep them unite, how closely you work, how transparently do you communicate with them, and top of
Right.
it, the role clarity, and as I said, the responsibility, more. I mean, especially honestly, what I've noticed is, when you start encroaching into their space. Okay, also, that's one. When you start encroaching into their space, the second is, when there is a then there is the fear of unknown. Okay,
Hmm.
that drives a lot of people away.
Hmm.
Okay, now if you can handle this so-called fear of unknown, or if you bring in those transparency, if you can give that, confidence. And also, it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at an individual is out there for some kind of a growth. Now, when I say
Correct.
growth, now growth is stature, status, money, financials. Okay, all of this is definitely achievable, accessible, even, I mean, with media, and it will remain like that.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
provided what kind of deliveries will fetch you the next level in life. Okay,
Correct. Correct.
what kind of deliveries will take you to that level. Okay, and I
Right.
think for that the dialogue is important, for that this exchange is important, and
Hmm.
that has really worked well. I think we've managed to, I mean, I think, as an organization, we use this pandemic time to reach out to our people, to know them well. Okay,
Hmm.
I personally reached out to a lot of people in this time.
Almost.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, because I got this opportunity, I had
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
I did reach out to a lot of lots of people in the organization working, even at the frontline level. Reached out to them, we tried to know them,
Hmm.
spoke to them. I think all
I
of that
think
works.
I think that is a very good theme. I mean, clarity and connect. So
Yes,
the
yes, yes,
clearer people
definitely.
are and the more connected they feel to the reason, or the raison d'etre,
Yes.
as it is called, is a
See,
very, very, and
continuous
money
self
is a very
renewal.
secondary thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Continuous self renewal and ground connect will always work.
Correct. Correct.
Always
Correct.
work.
And it's the
You know.
same thing with the
So
employees as it is with the customers.
yes, yes. And I think, one thing that I take a lot of pride in saying, as part of my leadership, I am very open. Like, I would, if I've done anything wrong, and I realize that I've done
That I
wrong,
know.
I
Yes.
completely come out and say sorry in public. I say sorry. I think this
Yeah.
wasn't right on my part. And like that,
Yeah.
if someone, and I give a lot of freedom and scope to people to come up and say, listen, we have a better argument, we have a better approach or better ways of working, and it's all open the table. If, and
Correct.
I really find
Transparency.
that
Yeah.
very good, like absolute transparency, because at the
Hmm.
end of the day, it's
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
one brain. We've got so many brains together.
Hmm.
If we work, it's easy to
Correct,
deliver.
correct, correct. It's not one brain working. Absolutely, it's the whole
That's
team
right.
and how it is working. And people can make mistakes, including the leader, and then you can just acknowledge and move on. So I
Yeah,
think
that's okay.
that's a
See, there's
very
nothing like mistake. There is
a-
nothing like mistake. These are all thought
yeah.
processes, right? Because
Hmm.
why would you make a mistake, or why would you put, let's say, a wrong, wrong way forward, in absence of some of the other information that you don't have.
Clarity, correct,
Okay,
correct.
the other
Information,
one comes
absolutely.
up with that information, and you correct the course. That's it. But you should be open to
That's
correct.
it.
You should be open to correct that course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We should not just hinge on to what is originally planned. You should keep correcting the course. I think
Correct.
one thing from the perspective of uh, the the levers you talked about, execution, of course, clarity, but let's say as business leaders, and I see, and I'm sure you also see, a lot of business leaders struggling with some kind of turnaround, either in form of products or services, or in the form of balance sheets, or any other form of transformation that the organizations may be seeking. You talked about execution, clarity, you talked about building a connect both with the customer and employee. But if I ask you, what is the mantra? What has been your mantra of or your suggestion to folks out there who want to lead change or transformation or turnaround of businesses? What would you tell
So
them? What insights
it's
will
a
you give them?
it's very simple mantra, right? Like mantra for me is uh, spend wisely. Okay. However, don't try and make your PNLs through cost. PNL, you will only PNL, if you really want to make a PNL, make it through the top line route. Okay. However, be very smart.
Through
Where
the
you don't
value.
have to save, don't save. Yeah. Where you don't have to save, you should not save, please don't save. Okay. Investing in your people, this is investment, not a spend. Okay. So we should have a very clear understanding of
Correct.
investment or
Correct.
spend. Okay. Spends you try and save. Okay. Investments, no. Investments, you invest. Right. And if you really want to look for
Do.
if you're
Yeah.
looking for a
Do.
long-term prospect, long-term business, the businesses will come out of the revenues. So be open to newer business opportunities, new ways of working, okay, and find out what are those handles, what are those levers which will actually make you, which will give you the growth in future in terms of revenues, etc. Comes cost. Anything which you
Hmm.
can very clearly establish or identify is the cost not needed. Okay, please cut that out straight away. There is no question
Get rid
asked,
of it. Yeah.
right? But
Hmm.
I mean, don't
Correct.
squeeze it at the wrong places. Don't squeeze it at the wrong places, right? So I believe the organization.
Yeah.
For example, I'll just tell you. For example, a lot of people would say that travel is a cost. Okay. Well, I don't consider travel as a
No, it
cost,
is not. Yeah.
provided you know what is to expect out of travel. Go down to
Where are
market,
you making the trouble?
go down the street.
Yeah.
Exactly. From there you will get those ideas. From there you will get those
Hmm.
corrections. So for me,
Correct.
travel is not a cost. Travel is an investment. People, right? You should invest in
Yeah,
your people.
absolutely. Completely agree.
When it comes to your training,
Hmm.
comes to having best of the talent, okay, giving them the time, space, engagement. I think that's where you should definitely invest. So other
Yeah.
than that, there are a lot of those things. Like for example, I'll tell you, I like we do like a large, just to kind of tell you, there are a lot of those annual maintenance contracts, the AMCs, etc. that we do, right? And this like so we definitely use we definitely used to kind of curtail some of these expenditures, and for example, some of those real estate expenditures, etc. Like so we ensured that our the employees, they should not feel any kind of heat. Okay. But at the same time,
Hmm.
so this pandemic actually to me gave us that opportunity to revisit the cost and the investments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we looked at our cost side in two
Yeah.
buckets. And investment, we are continuing to invest. We are investing in technology. We are
Mhm.
investing in newer equipments. Okay. In this last 2 years, we've bought, I think, we've bought equipments that we've not even bought in the last 4 years. Okay, because we're looking at it as an
Yeah. Yeah.
opportunity, right?
Correct. It's
We've
business
invested in
model.
right, yeah, we've invested in right kind of people, and at the same time, we looked at certain cost areas. We thought good that good
Yeah.
that we've managed to capture them. Honestly, if it was not pandemic, probably
Yeah.
some of these costs would have kind of been ignored.
Yeah.
Okay,
In our language, we call it value add and non-value add. Non-value add is something you keep on reducing, keep on reducing, keep on reducing, and keep filling the circle with more and more value add.
yes, yes,
Till
yes.
the
So
time
yeah, of
almost
course. So
everything is a value added thing.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. So
So
it's like
wherever you add
redeploying
value,
your
you are doing business. Yeah. Wherever you're doing
exploit.
non-value
That's
add, you
right.
are
Yeah.
actually hurting the business.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Right.
Correct.
There's another question from the audience on how you hire. What qualities do you look for in people when you hire
So it
in your
depends.
talent?
See, if you obviously very clear split between behavioral capabilities and functional capabilities. Okay, as an individual, like I would say, as an interviewer, I look at behavioral capabilities first, because I know if someone who's come to my desk for an interview definitely possess that those functional capabilities, because people come to me like after 2 or 3
Correct.
screenings, so I know somebody has that
Yeah.
somebody has that functional ability. So I look at their behavioral capacities and capabilities, especially with respect to their attitude, approach, and trainability. Okay, so I wouldn't mind hiring, let's
Hmm.
say, a much lower candidate, right? As long as the candidate is absolutely passionate, energetic, learner. and someone who's humble, who's humble to acknowledge that I'm hungry to learn.
Yeah.
Sustainable. So I look at softer elements more than the functional capabilities, because functional capabilities, to be honest, when people apply for a particular job, they apply obviously keeping some of those functional abilities, because if you're applying for a job, that I can do that job.
I have
So
a colleague. I have a colleague by the name Srini, and you know him, of course. He
yeah, of
calls
course.
this skill intelligent and hungry tomatoes.
Okay.
Intelligent, which is bright, hungry, of course, and tomatoes, which can merge
Yes.
anywhere, highly adaptable.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
for me, that's
So
the way. That's
go
the
into
way.
any.
So and a lot of times I meet people for 3 times, and I tell them that please don't consider this interview. This is interaction than interview. Okay. And I
Correct.
tell them that it's just a 20, 30, 40 minutes meeting, not suffice. Okay. So we will meet 40
Yeah.
minutes today. I'll make my known. I'll meet you again. Okay.
Correct.
So there are times when I was close to kind of rejecting a candidate after the first round, but then after the second round I decided and I changed the code. I got that candidate in.
Get a
Because
candidate back
sometimes what happens is, yes, you get, you also you give yourself a time, right?
to
You have
reflect.
to also
Absolutely.
think 5 times.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for me, hiring is, as I said, I'm very, very product and people centric person.
Hmm.
So for me,
Yeah.
product, people, process, right? So
Yeah. Product people
that's
process.
business. Yeah,
Yes.
that's business for me. So I invest a lot of time in hiring. I just don't say. I mean, I take that job very seriously. I just don't sign up
That's
people.
a very, very serious job. Absolutely. I think
That's the most
that's
serious
at
job.
the yeah. That's at the end of
Yeah,
time. Really, we are at 5 p.m.
sure.
Any last
Okay.
moment thoughts that you want to share with us?
No, it's fine. So I'm saying all adversity should be used as an opportunity. Okay,
Absolutely.
and one will only
Yeah.
be able to use them as an opportunity if so I come from the world of sports, right? And I was a footballer in my young days, and I remember we went on to win games which we were trailing till 85th minute. If you know, football is like a 90-minute game, and
Correct.
I know, and I've been a part of a lot of games which we won after having
Just
played
in the
for
last
the
five
85th.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So so if you hold your nerve,
that's the game. Yeah.
okay, you hold your nerve. If you can give on a given day, you can give your 100%. Okay, and you're super engaged. Rarely you will lose track.
Correct.
Rarely you
Correct.
will lose track. Okay,
Game is about
I
holding the.
really,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, and even if you lose such kind of games, this loss will give immense learning, which will again help you cut your course.
You become better in
So
human.
yeah,
Absolutely.
so for
These days, on
me,
a lighter note,
yeah.
these days on a lighter note, it is
So
Virat Kohli holding a nerve against Kohli. Yeah.
so it's like the businesses are changing. The generations have become, the generation shorter now. Every 6 7 years, a generation is changing
Correct.
with
Absolutely.
technology. So in this kind of an era, I mean, you have to be up on your toes, and you
All the
can't
time.
just wait for a good time. Yeah, you just
Yeah.
can't wait for a good time to come.
Correct.
Every time is a good time is the philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. I think it was wonderful interacting, and thanks again
Thank
for
you,
being here.
Lokesh.
I know it was a tight day for you, and thank you so
Yeah.
much for all the energy and all the answers today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All
Yeah.
the best. Thank you. Goodbye.
We'll catch up again soon on
Sure,
Solo
we will
Topic.
definitely. Sure. Sure. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.